I convene the December 20th, 2023 regular board meeting to order at 7 p.m. Will you please call the roll?
Marjorie Bartelli.
Here.
Vanessa Berry.
Here.
Debbie Bryan.
Here.
Karen Larson.
Here.
Joshua Martin.
Here.
Liz Sullivan.
Here.
Emily Swistak.
Here.
Thank you. Agenda item 2 is opportunity for visitors to speak. Public comment is for the general public to address the board. Each person will have up to 5 minutes to provide public comment.
I'm here representing Lisle Women's Club. We'd like to thank the library with a basket of all of life's staples, fruit and Lindor chocolates.
Thank you.
We know, as much as you said, you're welcome here and everything, we know it's an inconvenience. Every time we get here, the room is set up exactly how we've asked it to be set up, and they're always great about cleaning up afterwards, so we really appreciate the hospitality that you've provided over the years. So this is our way of saying thank you.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
And it's never an
Thank you.
inconvenience.
It's extra work. I know, like when we had guests come in from the GFWC out of Springfield, and your people are there showing them to where the meeting room is, and they're always here, very helpful and everything too. So
I'm happy
we
to
appreciate
hear
that.
Yeah, and we appreciate you as founders, founders of the library, so thank you.
So enjoy.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you to the Women's Club.
The 70% chocolate is the best. Okay.
All right, item number 3 is to acknowledge that Trustee Berry and Trustee Bryan reviewed the November billings in December, and that Treasurer Larson and Secretary Sullivan will review the December billings in January. Agenda item 4 is a consent agenda. Is there a trustee who wishes to pull something from the consent agenda? If not, may I have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda?
So moved. Second.
Thank you.
Discussion.
Pardon me?
Is it
Discussion,
discussion?
yes.
I just wanted to mention that there is a scrivener's error on number 9, the second sentence. There's a sentence that starts, "She told trustees to expect," and then there's an extra
two.
word there too. We're just going to strike that from the minutes. That's all.
Thank you. Need to call the roll?
Vanessa Berry.
Aye.
Debbie Bryan.
Aye.
Karen Larson.
Aye.
Joshua Martin.
Aye.
Liz Sullivan.
Aye.
Emily Swistak.
Aye.
Marjorie Bartelli.
Aye. Thank you. Item 5 is unfinished business. 5A1, capital improvement project, monthly project status update. Mark, please.
Of course, and it will be finished business hopefully shortly. So we did hold a final walkthrough on the 20th of November after the last board meeting. That report was issued. Of the 429 items that were originally issued, and some of those were added more recently, 22 remained open. About 8 of those were more paperwork items, so really we had about 12 to 14 open items at that point in time that we're trying to finish. I know a handful of those have been closed out since that period of time. We've probably got a total of 10 items to finally close out with Camosi. So you'll notice actually, I'll kind of segue into the budget stuff, but we're really holding about $90,000 on Camosi right now for the final work. So we're that close. We've got 10 items.
We were at 200, now we're at 90.
90,000, assuming that the invoice for this month is approved by the board and then paid out,
Sure.
yes. So we're getting closer. Will's been spearheading a lot of the back and forth on site here too, which has been great to work with him, and him kind of chaperoning the subcontractors through. It's been helpful, so thank you for that. Minor remaining items. I know we got some lighting things. Camosi should be sending out Peeper, the electrical contractor, here next week. They were here yesterday, I want to say, or 2 days ago. So those are going on right now. We have a little bit of flooring things that we're still trying to haggle through with the contractors, but we're getting really, really close. Added scope items, added signage was ordered by the Lisle Library that is included in the updated budget.
And it should be installed this Friday.
Perfect. The other thing in the budget too now is we did get a proposal. I just forwarded Tatiana and Will an email maybe a half hour ago. I went through the contract and double checked to make sure it was not covered previously.
So let's talk about that.
Yeah.
Can you explain to the board about what we're looking at adding? And I had a question about your email, so I'll let you explain what we're talking about
Yep.
first.
So going way back in this meeting room, we've got existing speakers here, and you also have paging speakers. Paging speakers are not connected to the AV system, which is tied back there. We've gotten the paging speakers covered. I know there were some problems with getting them functional more recently. That is something outside of Comosi's purview, what we're dealing with Applied directly, but two different systems, just to clarify that one first off. When we went through the original design, we had add alternates for this room. One being assisted listening, one being amplified sound, speakers, microphone, things like that, and a third one that I'm not remembering the top of my head right now, but there were 3 alternates about 2 years ago that we had. They were not elected to be taken at that time of bid. So we had those numbers that said, you know, we have about $30,000 worth of change orders if we wanted to approve, did not approve them. Essentially, if you went forward with the amplified speaking, like a microphone, for instance, you would be code required to put in the assisted living. So they kind of trickled down. What we do have now, though, is to get the sound working properly with the existing speakers and new speakers is a proposal for, I think, 8 additional speakers at a cost of roughly just under $3,300.
So my question for that is when we receive the system we have in both of these rooms, the sound that is coming, is it coming from this device? Or is it coming through speakers?
Well,
into the ceiling?
the sound should be coming to your new hub, which is in that room there, and out to your existing speakers.
So when we purchased this, that we waited for the functionality portion for months and months,
Right.
why, not blaming you at all, I'm
Oh,
just
no.
wondering why the system wasn't like configured for the space?
The interesting thing that we found when we looked at the drawings,
Because, let the board know, is that when we were utilizing it, we could not ramp up the volume enough for, when we had more audience. So.
the sound level wasn't getting high enough, correct, is my
Correct.
understanding? Yep.
Yeah.
So I went back and looked at the drawings. In the AV drawings, there's a little note buried in there that says, new speakers, they're shown in the drawings, new speakers be provided as an alternate. That alternate didn't get elected. And interestingly, the alternate language that was in the bid package provided by the team, essentially, I'll say that, didn't specify that the speakers were part of any one of the alternates. So there was that gap there that you have a drawing that says provide an add alt for the speakers, but the bid package provided in the front end documents of the design package didn't list out the speakers, so the cost never got carried through from Comosi into the bids that we ended up receiving. So now I'd honestly say that even if that error in the drawings, I'll say error, miscoordination, whatever you want to call it, wasn't there, we didn't elect the alternates at that point in time, so they wouldn't have been in, but it would have been flagged because we would have known, hey, these speakers are part of this one, not some random note in a drawing that's buried in there that says it's an alternate.
The only alternates I remember in all the conversations were like the larger price points for like the assisted system they would have for like ADA compliance, and then there were some others like you could have surround sound or something
Yeah,
like that, and
exactly.
we thought it was not necessary. So I don't remember there being another alternate for speakers that would be correct.
And that would be the correct assumption that you had, I had, and Shannon Eagle Hartray had. One of the sub-consultants down the chain basically didn't realize that there was a note in their drawings that didn't correlate with what you, ourselves, and Shannon Eagle Hartray had listed in
So
the
we
bid.
purchased a system, or I should say a projection system with speakers that aren't really made for the space.
Well, no, so they should be tying their auxiliary to whatever the projector is. So this is speakers in addition to your existing speakers, in addition to projector. So the base assumption, if that, say that an alternate number had been submitted with the bid for specifically speakers, and it wasn't elected to be taken at that point in time. Say we knew that it wasn't we knew there was a number specifically for speakers and it wasn't elected. We would have assumed that the existing speakers that are in the room would have been able to carry the sound of the system.
Yeah, I just wish it would have been
That's-
flagged at the
That's what I was
point.
gonna
Yeah.
ask. So the existing speakers are not sufficient for
They're
a
not
high
sufficient.
dense, okay.
No,
that's-
they're not sufficient
So this is
at all.
over and above the existing speakers that were
Yep.
assumed to be sufficient, if we had even known, quite frankly, that the added speakers were an add alt in one contract and one sub-consultant's drawings.
So we haven't paid for it
No.
yet,
Right.
and I saw that,
Yep.
so
Right.
we are going to go that route. It's
Right.
just, it's now delayed.
Right.
Yes.
You know, after the install, so.
Correct.
Okay.
And we would do it direct and through, instead of through Comosi, you just do it direct to the company that can go and provide the speakers,
Okay.
which is the same company that's providing the paging
I'm assuming there's more than enough power to drive higher wattage speakers.
So it's the same company that, instead of going back to the design team for a speaker spec and everything else, what we ended up doing in the library to help push is we went right to the company that installed the new system and said, what do you recommend?
Okay.
So the
Got it.
quote really came from the same installer as what put in the system,
And the
which
speakers
helps.
work, they're just not loud.
Right. Yeah, I wanted to make sure,
Mm-hmm.
in addition to not adding in the speakers, it wasn't some kind of amplifier or
Right.
unit that was not spec'd for higher power speakers either.
Yep,
That would
exactly.
be a knock-on effect.
Right.
So,
You need the
okay.
whole system to work together.
Right.
Right.
And will
Okay.
they go in the ceiling as well?
They would be in
then?
the ceiling,
Okay,
yes.
okay. And then in both rooms?
Yes,
Yeah.
correct. And I believe it's 4 each.
Okay.
Excuse me, I'm sorry. Are these projectors synced? Can you view the same thing?
You
I don't have that answer.
No, I
Will's
mean,
saying yes, so that's good.
In
Yeah.
both rooms, you can,
Yeah.
but that's
Yeah.
done through the panel there, where you can sync both screens.
So,
Yes.
I mean, there would be no reason to have this open and have it on two sides, but if you had,
You could.
Yeah.
you could, but if it was separated, but you still wanted to show it, half here and half there, you could do that.
You could, but if you
Okay.
had it open and you had such a large crowd, you could have some people viewing that screen and some people
Right,
viewing
that
this screen, the
was my
same
point.
thing.
Okay,
You can imagine someone sitting back there, they might not be able to see the screen there, and they want to look to the right to see
Right.
closer.
is there a screen that
Yes.
rolled on over back
It's
there?
the
That's
one-
the ugly one there.
The ugly one.
So we
was
are,
that.
we're
The
on
ugly
contractor
one,
number
yeah.
4.
With the ceiling panels.
To try to get a
Okay.
quote. This one came out, and we'll see all the correspondence back and forth. We've been checking weekly, because at first it was a pricing delay on material, waiting on material, but I don't know how much material's there, so we are continuing to follow up with contractor number 4 to try to get a price for this.
Okay.
Okay.
And it's not to replace the screen, it's to replace the cap.
It's just an aesthetic
Cover.
thing.
That cover.
Yeah, I
Okay.
mean, everything works, it's just
Okay,
not
doesn't look so pretty.
Right,
Gotcha.
yes,
I have another question.
of course.
On page 31 of the full packet, under the invoices sent for processing,
Mhm.
the 107,719, does that hit the current contingency fund of 121?
No, those are all expenditures in the committed to date and expenditures to date column.
Okay,
So-
so the contingency number is,
The contingent, yeah, that's right, I'm sorry, you weren't here last month when I,
right, no, and I
yep.
did read the minutes.
Okay,
but,
yep.
I just wanted to ask that
Yep,
question.
no, so, none of the invoices currently or in the future would hit the contingency line item unless I came to you and said, we're reducing the contingency line item to account for a new thing that we're doing. I don't know of any anticipated costs right now that would hit the contingency line item. I'll say that at this point.
And I had asked Tatiana about the contingency fund. Can we allocate specific earmarks? So the contingency fund would be put into the special reserves, correct?
well, it's already
It is
there,
already, okay, so,
essentially.
so, say like the new partition, or whatever objects we might consider. We didn't go ahead with the new sliding doors. We could upgrade that out of that.
You mean the
fund.
partition to this room?
Yeah,
Yeah, so, whatever is left over after all the invoices are paid from the capital improvement project, we will still have monies in the special reserve fund. And those monies are there for capital improvement projects, and emergencies. So, whatever's left, the board will make a decision moving forward with a new special reserve ordinance that lays out a plan for spending these funds, because we have to let the public know what we are saving for in the future. So we will very soon have probably another personnel policy or a finance committee meeting, depending on what the president and I decide in terms of where we want to discuss it, or we can do it as a committee of the whole and talk about how we want to format our new special reserve ordinance. And I know that the physical plant committee has already discussed some projects that were off the FQC list to plan for the future. There's some like HVAC software that have been discussed that is kind of a high ticket item. So some of those things will probably appear on a new special reserve ordinance.
Any other questions for Mark?
Do you have more to go over?
No, and really, that was, the budget was the budget. Really, there was no change in any anticipated costs. It was just some committed the dates based on the signage, because we already had some placeholders in there for that, as well as those speakers are in there already. So we didn't change any of the anticipated costs, and then we obviously have the invoices and change order update, which is none. Anything else? All right.
Thanks, Mark.
Yep.
Thank
Merry,
you.
yeah, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year to everybody.
Thank you.
Yep. I'll be talking to you
too.
guys. Thank you.
Don't forget your
I won't.
chocolate pop.
I'm gonna hide that from my household.
I was gonna say, I really like chocolate.
How do I do that? All right, have a good night, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Agenda item number 6, committee reports. 6A is finance.
Nothing at this time.
6B, personnel and policy.
We're trying to schedule a meeting, but I haven't heard anything back. Do you have?
So we had one trustee who can make Wednesday the 10th. So can call, and I think the chair can make the 10th.
Let me check. Was that one of the dates that I gave you? Was that one of the dates I gave you?
Yes. I just want to make sure that the Personnel and Policy Committee, all the members can make the 10th at 7 p.m.
I can do the 10. Can everyone else on the committee do the 10th?
Yeah.
Karen,
Mhm.
Nessa, Marjorie?
Yes.
Okay, I'm gonna put it on my calendar right now.
All right.
At what time?
7.
7.
Thank you. Okay. And 6
Okay, so we are meeting on January 10th, 2024
Mm.
at 7 p.m. for the Personnel and Policy Committee. Thank you.
6C, physical plan.
Nothing at this time.
Thank you. Agenda item 9, staff reports. Director Weinstein.
Okay. So I know we've talked about in-service day, but last month we had our in-service day and we conducted the emergency preparedness drills as if we were all on duty. So we did the tornado drill and we shuffled everybody into the shelter. And we did the fire drill and we evacuated everybody out into the outside where we need to go in the St. John parking lot. We did Code Adam. Will was the frantic parent, and we visited a public service desk looking for his child, and we conducted that drill, and we found the child, so that was great. We had a little stuffed frog that we went looking for in the building, and he was found, safe and sound. And then we just discussed power outage procedures with staff, so that was wonderful. Sergeant Taylor went over facility threats, we talked about that. And then we viewed a very informative Rails webinar hosted by Attorney Julie Tappendorf, and it was all on First Amendment audits, and that was very informative for our staff. And then we just wrapped the day with a team building exercise, so it was a really productive day, so I just wanted to let you all know. And then moving on to my tech notes here, as you know, in our budget, we budgeted for an overlay for the catalog, and that overlay, the first overlay, because our catalog is Polaris catalog, we looked at Vega, and Vega is their product. So after a lot of review and discussion with department directors and our IT manager, we have opted not to go with Vega for a number of reasons. One being price, it's the most expensive overlay. And then the others were almost as weighty. The functionality of Vega isn't 100% there yet. It's kind of there's some beta sections of it, and we just didn't want to take that leap plus the price. So there are other very reasonable options on there out in the world. We've been exploring a couple of others. Our tech services director, Laura Murph, has been looking at some others. And BiblioCore is one that we are deeply interested in, and much less in terms of price. So that's where we're looking. Elgin Public Library, Elk Grove Village, and the Chicago Public Libraries all use it. And just to refresh memories, the overlay, it just provides a smoother user experience. So like, if let's say Harry Potter has multiple formats. You've got Harry Potter's book, as the ebook, as the audiobook. It would show all the formats at once and show the availability all in one screen.
That's right.
Oh, nice.
So it's just, you don't have to click to see if it's here, it just shows you right up front. So that's where we're headed, and I'm happy to report that there are less expensive options that offer a very similar experience. Okay. Moving on, we now have a kind of a draft site for our website. We're moving a lot of the important information over, like the archived board packets, the current calendar and event software over, and just other information. And we're loading it to a site that is now Drupal 10. It's just a lot more user-friendly for staff, and we're still working on tweaking the site to make it look more modern. So that's happening. And then speaking of calendar and event software, the department directors have opted for Library Market, that's the name of it. There's so many that sound alike, but Library Market is the new option for us. I sat in on an implementation meeting this morning. It was really, it's going to be a much better experience for our patrons, a much better experience for our staff. When patrons register for a program, there's a lot more options for us as staff to make it more informative for the patron. And the calendar will appear on our website as a widget where you'll see like the first few programs in a widget, and then you can click on it and it'll bring up the full display of the calendar. So looking forward to that. There are a series of implementation meetings scheduled, so we're not going to be launching this probably at the same time as the website launches, because how many weeks?
There are at least 10.
Okay, we've already been on 2 of the weeks, so
Yeah,
maybe
I think our
another month and a half.
Our target date is March 15th.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, I thought it was sooner than that, but we will have the website far before that. But it's a really nice software product, so looking forward to that. And then moving on to the notes here regarding hosting versus on-site servers. So as you know, the board has been interested in making sure that if we have a power outage, patrons can still access our online resources if the library is closed. And so there's really basically 2 choices. Either we host our authentication server in the cloud, and that means our Polaris server that authenticates everything, or we get a generator, a smaller generator, that would keep the server room operational. And the IT manager's gotten quotes for hosting. It's an annual hosting fee that is not inexpensive. And so it's looking like a generator is probably a better investment in the future financially. The other, I'm not gonna say which one we're going with yet because we still need more information. The hosting in the cloud, it sounds very good to do, but it's a lot of work, and not work like staff work, but it's a lot of connectivity issues with everything that we authenticate with. So like every database we have, we would have to change something for. The self-check, everything is connected to our Polaris server. So we're weighing all the options, and there's no decision. Right now, the IT manager is leaning towards generator, but we still need more information. So we're getting some more quotes. And then what I would imagine in the future we would do is, once we get all our ducks in a row and all the information we need, is bring it to a physical plant committee meeting to talk about the costs and the ups and the downs, the pros and the cons, and then hear from the committee members and what they think moving on. And then I'm going to move on to Winter Read. Obviously, everybody was here. It was a wonderful success. We estimate between 375 and 400 people, and that includes the little guys. The District 202 High School Jazz Band was just so excellent. It was so wonderful to hear them. The cupcakes were delicious. The ice sculptures were wonderful. They really engaged the kids who stood there and listened. Like, they had a nice rapport. It wasn't just like they were cutting ice. They were like engaging with the children, which was really nice. And then, of course, we had a wonderful story time with Miss Katie in this room. Everything was wonderful. The program runs through January 12th, and I have an update on the numbers. As of today, we have 248 adults, 119 youth, and then the teen number stayed the same at 21. And then lastly, I just have one more mention that didn't make it into my report. The Palatine Public Library heard about our Lightzilla, and I imagine they heard about it through either the Rails article that went online, but most specifically, they were interested in our fundraising effort that we had to procure the Lightzilla. And so the director called me and asked if I could talk to their team, either their marketing team, I can't remember if it was their marketing team or their like department directors, about like what we did to procure the Lightzilla. And so I did. And so I just made sure to discuss like making sure you connect with the appropriate stakeholders, just keep very good financial records because they're donations from your community, and just discuss the effort in public meetings to make sure everything's transparent, have in-house staff meetings to make sure that your staff know how to explain it to somebody who had questions, and also to actively publicize what you're doing, so on various platforms and by various means. So not only social media, but sending out letters, word of mouth, those kinds of things. So it was nice to talk about what we did because it reminded me of how well it went for us, and also just reminded me of how generous our residents were and the local organizations who donated to us. And it was just kind of a feel-good moment. And so the Palatine Library was very thankful for the information, and they're going to be trying to get a Lightzilla just like us in the new year.
Oh, nice.
And it was just nice to share a nice story. So yeah, that's my report.
I have a question for you. Concerning BiblioCore, it would be nice if we're trying to get a book, I know we can use the ILL, I believe it's called,
Interlibrary loan.
to get a book. But right now, it's really difficult if you want an audiobook, because it's either you can get it or it's not owned by the system we're a part of, and there's no way to get it. Like right now, you cannot request that an audiobook be purchased. That functionality used to be there, and it's not there anymore.
In what?
In eMedia. That functionality went away when they did
Oh,
an
you're
upgrade.
talking about eMedia Library.
Right. So I'm wondering, when we move to this BiblioCore, will the audiobook listener be able to say, hey, I was looking for this audiobook, it's not there. Can they put in a request to say, can you purchase this?
The BiblioCore is just the overlay to the catalog. It's not.
So it's
anything-
just a front end.
It's not connected to eMedia Library. It will list eMedia Library titles or digital copies of titles. So
Okay.
if something's available on Hoopla, it'll show. If something is available on eMedia Library, it'll show. But it doesn't talk to eMedia Library. It's
Okay.
basically, it's just another look to the catalog.
Okay.
Your issue is with eMedia Library.
Okay.
And, you have
Yeah,
one to
it
say?
basically will add shortcuts and add a new veneer to what our catalog looks like, but the behind the scenes stuff is all the same. So when you click the place a hold button, as far as Polaris knows, BiblioCore is not changing anything. It's just still the same
Right.
press hold button.
So the problem you're bringing up is a vendor problem, not
Right.
a BiblioCore problem.
Right. And I understand placing a hold,
Yeah.
which I do all the time. But if the book isn't owned by the series, the consortium, we're part of a consortium, as you well know. If that consortium hasn't purchased the audiobook,
You're saying there's no way to tell them to purchase it?
or you used to be able to recommend, and now that functionality has gone away.
Yeah, and that's a vendor
Gotcha.
decision, but you can still send an email to staff
Okay.
to either for us to purchase it or for us, I forgot the name of the the layer that we have with community library in terms of purchasing for our patrons. I forgot the name of it, but you can always send an email to Adult Services and ask about it, and then we can do what we can do on our side.
Okay. Great, thank you.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I had two actually. The first, I guess, is more of a statement on the decision for a generator versus offsite cloud hosting. And I would ask, or maybe you've already considered this and you can give me a little more information, that when we are planning this, it's more than just a pure power outage scenario. If we have catastrophic server failure, if there's technical obsolescence, which is probably built into budgets, but if it's faster than expected, or if there's degrees of redundancy, that it's also compared with that cost of the offsite cloud, especially as more and more of these technological solutions move in that direction. Do we lose any competitive advantage by staying purely with an on-prem with a generator backup that maybe doesn't account for all contingencies or future scenarios?
Yes, and that's part of the discussions I've been
Okay.
having with the IT manager. The other thing that's brought up is, we don't have that many power outages.
Right.
And like, is the benefit in getting a generator worth
Right.
the like 2 or 3 outages we have a year? Or do we bite the bullet and pay an annual fee, thousands of dollars every year to move everything in the cloud? Because
Yeah.
moving your catalog is different from moving just like
Right.
an XYZ server into the cloud.
Mm-hmm.
The catalog is just connected to everything in the building, and moving that in the cloud is a huge undertaking, not only for IT staff, but if something goes wrong, it's
Yeah.
not accessible
Mhm.
by us. And if it's on our server, on our premises, we can probably finagle with it.
Right.
So there's a lot of pros and cons, and like I said, we're trying to get all our ducks in a row, and then we can provide all the information to probably the physical plant committee, just to
Right.
like go over
Right.
everything. And we can even have our IT manager at that meeting to provide backup information.
Yeah, I just foresee a point in time when it's more sensible to have everything in the cloud just from a future-proofing standpoint. So long as it's on the roadmap somewhere, eventually, I think that will be a decision regardless of generator backup, battery backup,
Yeah.
on-prem. It's just the way services are moving these days.
I agree, and at first I was like, yeah, we gotta put it in the cloud, I absolutely put it in the cloud. And
Right.
then as Sandy was hearing about what goes into it, and the cons of when it is in the cloud, and if
Right.
something goes wrong in the cloud, then it's like,
Yeah,
we have nothing, we can't do anything. So like, what do you do? And so then the generator, and it wouldn't be like an all-building generator, it would just be
Right.
servicing the server room.
right,
So, yeah, so we'll have to make a decision.
okay. The second question was, could you elaborate a little more on what you had stated about some of the design elements of the website taking a little bit longer? Because I saw you indicated that the technical aspects and what I would say are back-end architecture seem to be going well, but the front-end design is taking a little more. And given what I've seen from the website, I'm very concerned about front-end design, user interface, user experience, and want to make sure that even if it does take more time, I would rather it be a seamless and great user interface. And do we have the right people engaged there for that?
We do. We have the right people. It's just taking longer because there's been a lot of back and forth with our web designer. And so staff have been very forthright with the look we're looking for.
Okay.
We've provided examples. So it's just either scheduling issues or certain colors, it's just.
That's important things. I mean,
It is.
that makes that's a
It
big
is,
deal.
and I don't think you'll be disappointed
No.
because the draft is looking,
Yeah.
it's a vastly different look to
Yeah.
what we have now. It's just a scheduling and a timing issue
Okay.
and back and forth with this color, not that color.
Sure.
This button, not that button.
Okay, that makes me feel better than thinking it was perhaps a lack of capabilities and
It's not lack of
execution.
capability,
Okay.
it's really just communicating. And we had a lot of cooks in the kitchen
Sure.
because we had all of our department
Okay.
directors, submit information, and now it's just trying to like hone it
Okay.
and taking time to do that.
Very good.
And is the web designer a contractual person or?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
All right.
Tatiana,
Thank you.
will the board or should the board be provided with a prototype of that before you go with it?
That's up to the board.
I mean.
I would like to
that's-
see it.
I think I would like to see it.
Yes.
I didn't know if that was part of the plan or not.
It wasn't, but I mean, it was, all the staff, all the department directors were part of
No,
it, the
it's
IT
not
manager. If
because
the
of
board would
that.
like to see it, I
I
can
would love to
show
see
you
it.
what is there now. It's not there yet, but I can show you.
At some point in time, maybe
The
when
look,
it's,
right.
it's
Just if we can
closer,
have, see
you're
it before it goes
satisfied.
live.
Yeah, I'd love to see it right when you're
Yes.
close, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Before it goes
Thank you.
live would be fine with me, if
Yeah.
you don't mind.
Right.
Yes,
Okay.
I would like to see that.
And I have a couple more questions, very minor. And under library, library.org, how far back do we go with the archive board packages online? I mean, is there a best practice, is there?
I mean, I would say 7 years is probably a good amount, but
Do
we
we really
have,
think that
We don't have-
public,
we don't have to.
it's just up to you. It's not a big deal, but I mean, it just takes up a lot of space, and 7 years.
Space isn't the issue, it's really just a link. It's really how much the board, I mean, we can remove it at any time.
Okay.
Remove whatever you like, if you
No,
think, you know, the 3 years is enough, that's fine.
Just a thought.
Yeah,
just
and so
wondering.
maybe when I share the look with you, you can come to a conclusion about how many board packets you want.
Okay.
We have been, I will have to say, our library website is one of the most transparent and informational websites out there in library land and otherwise.
Oh, for sure,
Oh,
absolutely,
yeah.
there's a lot of information on there, yeah. More
And
than
under
most.
the calendar event software for library market, I noticed that the cost in the bills that we paid, is that a one-time?
So the two bills that we paid, I should say, it was one bill split into two parts. That is the one-time cost. We haven't paid our annual fee yet.
Okay,
The cost that we paid right now is for all the training we're getting.
And onboarding,
So,
yeah.
onboarding, so
Okay.
that's that 10 weeks with a specific team that we have right now, and then including on 10 weeks is training for the entire staff. Like they're gonna be training, and then they're also gonna do an ILS integration for us, so that everything in our system is gonna get rolled over by them, so that everything is
So
coordinated.
all our data from
Yep.
the old software event calendar is gonna be transferred to the new software.
okay.
Yeah, it looks nice. I checked it out on the Western Springs Library website. It looks like it's really easy to use.
Yeah, looking forward very much.
Yeah.
Any other questions for the director? Thank you. Assistant Director Savage?
All right, so I had a bunch of meetings and stuff going on the last month. Lyra had their biannual full meeting in November that I went to, where it was discussed the insurance market for the coming year and what everything's looking like. And we also received a presentation on how to promote just daily safety in public buildings, which is very informative. Event team met to discuss preparations for winter reading. Thank you to those of you who showed up. Thank you to the public who showed up. It went super well. We're very excited. And now on to a potential celebration for National Library Week in April as our next topic of discussion. And as Tatiana mentioned, Staff in-Service Day was a great opportunity for us to go over emergency procedures and drills in the new building. Some stuff remained the same, some stuff dramatically changed. So it was great to get everyone's input on what needed to be addressed with those changes. And then the facility, a representative from Lyra comes out once a year to do a walkthrough, just to make sure that everything is looking good and what little adjustments we can make to try to be safer for staff and for the public. And she noted 2 minor deficiencies that I'm in the process of working through right now. And then Crosstown came out and actually, so in the report talks about the pole being installed. It was just installed today. So the new light pole is out on the east side right here, and it is looking nice and fresh.
Do we put a barricade around it?
No.
Any other questions?
I've got one. Give me a quick overview of the Lyra, the previous concerns, and then the minor deficiencies.
So previous concerns were we had a ladder that 2 of the feet did not have rubber stoppers on them.
Okay, yep.
So we added those rubber stoppers.
Great.
They would like us to add signage that prohibits rollerblading and skating on the property. And then they recommend that we get a lightning rod installed on the building. So
interesting.
I'm coordinating with the roofers and electricians to figure out what that looks like
Okay.
and what we need to do to take care of
Where
that.
it goes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I'm kind of surprised that there's no earth ground up there, but okay, well, that's good.
Yep.
Very good.
Anyone else? Thank you, Will.
Thank you.
Moving on to item 8, new business. 8A is to approve the 2024 holiday closing. May I have a motion and a second?
I move to approve the 2024 holiday closings.
I'll second.
Any discussion? Okay. Roll call, please.
Debbie Bryan,
Aye.
Karen Larson,
Aye.
Joshua Martin,
Aye.
Liz Sullivan,
Aye.
Emily Swistak,
Aye.
Marjorie Bartelli,
Aye.
Vanessa Berry.
Aye.
Thank you. 8B is to acknowledge the annual treasurer's report. The annual treasurer's report has been compiled by administrative staff and reviewed by the team at Sickage. The financial information is in this report mirrors the fiscal year financials from the library's annual audit. This report will be filed at the county before the calendar year is over. Okay. Item 9, opportunity for trustee comments. I will start. I'd like to thank Vice President Swistak for the great job she did while I was out. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Also like to comment on Winter Read, fantastic. I love the jazz band.
Yeah.
Have we,
Great.
have we thanked them and thanked them? I hope they come
yeah.
back again. They were really, really.
They've been here before, and that's why we asked them that.
They were great. And also want to wish happy holidays to the whole board and our staff. I have a little goodie bag for each of you, which we all need. So please take one before you leave. They're candy mates.
Oh, yay.
This is a very caloric meeting.
We should have walked tonight, Vanessa.
All right, Trustee Berry?
I had a couple things. Director Weinstein and I were talking the other day at the winter read. I was outside with my son, and he ran into a friend who, 5th grade boy, it looked like he was there by himself. Like he probably heard from friends that it was going on and came. And Isaac went up to him and was like, "You have to get a cupcake. They're so good." And you could just see the look on his face. He's like, I didn't bring any money today. And Isaac's like, "They're free." And he's like, "What?" And his eyes got so big. He was so excited. And it was just so nice that, like, the library provides these opportunities and there's not all the extra little things. Especially for, like, 10-year-olds there by themselves, or families who have, like, 4 kids that they're going to be buying cupcakes for. I really love that that's all worked into the budget so that those events are, like, no extra fees for the community.
Agreed.
And then the other thing I was talking to one of the Village of Lisle trustees, and board packets came up, and I was showing her our board packet of, like, yeah, we get the director report, and we get, like, quarterly we get all the different, like, division reports and stuff, and here's the breakdown of library usage and social media. And she was actually kind of jealous and really impressed with all of the information that we're providing for just discussion of the board, and, like, the public can get all of that information too. And it's just so well compiled and so well put together by you guys, so I want to say thank you.
Thank you. Good to hear. Thank you. Trustee Bryan?
Yes, I reiterate, great job with Winter Read. Great feedback I heard from the community. I shared with Will today we had an event the next day at the Park District, and there were people that had been there the day before, and were just saying what a great time they had, same thing, just all the projects and everything, just so well organized and well run, so always great. And again, I hear from all ends. I hear from the little people and from the seniors. Great feedback from Noelle's programs as well. The arts, they love her crafts and her art programs, so good. So many great offerings. I'm looking forward to the TikTok seminar or program in January. I signed up for that right away. I can't wait. I'm so excited. So, this is great. So I'll let you know. I'll report on that next time. But and I just was walking through youth services today, and I think it looks so fantastic. All the color coordinated snowflakes and just so many great details and so bright and cheerful. It's just such a welcoming environment every time I come in here. It's just when I keep repeating, when I started here, back in the dark ages, Jane Shaw was the director, and she said her one thing was she always wanted people to feel like, they were welcome. And it was like Marshall Fields. You should feel like you were, treated, and welcomed every day. And I just feel like that has been her legacy carried on even now. And it feels that way every time I walk in. And I think everyone feels that way here. So you've created a great community. So
I'm glad to hear that.
yes.
Thank
And
you.
Thank you. Treasurer Larson.
Oh my. Everything everybody said. I mean, Winter Read was so much fun. It was nice. It's been a great year, and I hope everybody has a great holiday season.
Thank you. Trustee Martin?
Thank you. A couple of things. First, echoing some of the sentiments that Trustee Barry had talked about regarding not just the packet, but the communication overall. The director's emails are always very timely and thoughtful, and I appreciate the degree of communication that we get, especially via email and written form.
Not overkill?
Not at all. I feel very informed with those, and don't ever feel like it's too much communication, because a lot of that is very insightful, and in some ways it's also very beneficial when it's just talking about some of the all the donation, the planter, all of that. Just getting updates on that is very helpful. I also thoroughly enjoyed the Winter Read kickoff. I was pulling along a cadre of 4th grade girls, and they thoroughly enjoyed it. We spent some time out by the ice sculpting, and they quickly identified the turtles. And I spent some time talking to the ice sculpting crew as well, and found out that the lady had started in culinary school as a cake decorator and then transitioned to ice sculpting as it was an elective at the college. So it's a future, apparently, in ice sculpting, and that was great. I would ask, or I would challenge, I know that we get great youth, elementary school, family turnout, and older adult turnout at those events. But I wonder if there's something at those events or something we could do to really target and capture the junior high and high school demographic. And I know it's not necessarily a popular thing to be seen at the library during a kickoff, but my daughter in high school does use the facility frequently for studying, but it's not a fun, right? It's very utilitarian, it's useful. These events are spectacular from a social, from a fun perspective, from the ability to get a cupcake perspective. So I don't know, and I don't pretend to know what that looks like from a programming perspective, but I wonder if there's not something that when we have future initiatives could be targeted at some of those demographics. And I know that even with all the targeting, again, having teenage daughters, you can target it all you want. If it's not something that's speaking the language, it doesn't matter what you say.
Population.
Oh yes, very, very aloof, very, I don't know but once they experience it and they go, well, that was fun, then I think there's something to be said for that. So it's not necessarily anything we can do, but I'm more or less thinking out loud and trying to, again, continue to capture those demographics that may be like, oh, what am I going to do in the library? Well, it's actually a blast. I enjoy it. So that's all I have to say. The event was fantastic, and really just trying to say, how do we get more people to experience just how much fun and how valuable it is for the community.
Great, thank you. Secretary Sullivan.
I just wanted to say, I was talking to a mom of 2 kids, and it never occurred to me how dependent she was, and I guess other moms are, on the programs at the library, because they need she was just telling me how short her kids' attention spans are. And so the library has these programs that are just like, the story time, the other times that are just long enough, but not too long. And so she can bop in, have them a little program, run over to McDonald's, put them down for a nap. And she just needs some little thing to fill the day with. So it was just wonderful to hear how she uses the library so much, and how other of her friends that have these small children do as well. So I knew that, all of these things, but it was nice to hear it. So thank you, and have a happy holiday.
Vice President Susan.
Thank you. First, I'd like to say welcome back, President Bartelli. We missed you the last 2 months when I had to sit over there. So glad you're back, glad you're feeling better, and welcome back. Echo everyone else's sentiments about the Winter Read Kickoff Party, that it was a really great time. My 2 high schoolers did not come that evening because it was a Friday night, but my 6th grader came. So, we're trying, but anyway, they usually show up. So anyway, but it was a great event, really enjoyed it. And then also I just wanted to mention too, it's kind of echoing on what Liz was just saying about the programming for the young families. It just reminded me of when my youngest was little, and it was like my saving grace to be able to come to story time at the library. It was like, okay, I have something to do, I'm gonna go. And even if he just sat there and didn't participate, he was getting stuff out of it, and I was getting stuff out of it, and talking to other parents, and I met some other people in the community, and it was just a really great thing. So you just warmed my heart with memories of when mine was little. So thank you to Mr. Will and his staff from when he was in youth services that did that. So anyway, that's that. And then also just wanted to wish everyone happy holidays, happy new year. See you in January. And I move to adjourn.
Wow, all right. Second. There we go.
Second. Thank you. We are adjourned at 7:52.
We got to vote on it.
Voice.
No.
No, we don't, all right.
All in